Well, I have to say, today we set a record. It's not the record I was hoping for, not the biggest red day of the year, not the biggest green day. Today was the slowest day of the year. It was unbelievable. There was nothing. There was nothing that came out with good news. There were a couple small little headlines, but nothing really significant, nothing that really gave us like some solid opportunities, at least for my strategy. Now, this is a thing that's unfortunate because right now there's a stock up 150%, and there are a lot of traders that were happy to trade it and made money on it, but for me, a little too cheap. I'll walk you through the stocks I looked at today and how I went through the process of deciding whether or not I would trade them. I ended up sitting here today talking myself out of a lot of trades. But you know what? This is a day where I get to strengthen and exercise that muscle of discipline. I didn't see anything that perfectly met my 5 pillars of stock selection. And so for that reason, the right thing to do was to wait. Now, I at this point right now have a choice to make. It's about 10 a.m. and I could say, it's still early. I should just sit here and wait until something starts to pull away and start to move, and then I'll jump on it. Don't walk away until I make a little more money. And on the other hand, I could say it's 10 a.m. I've been here since 7 a.m. So I've done 3 hours. And I don't have much to show for it. What's the point of sitting around? Why take the risk? Clearly, it's not happening today. So what's the right answer? Well, I'll share with you this book that I really enjoy, which I've shared a million times. So I'll share it again here. Quit by Annie Duke, The Power of Knowing When to Walk Away. Download it on audiobook. Listen to it. It's a great book. And in this book, she talks about taxi drivers in New York City and a study that was done about how they decide when to quit each day, when to stop driving. So the taxi drivers rent a taxi from the taxi company for a 12-hour shift. So they pay their money to rent the car, and now they go out and they've got to make enough fares, pick up enough people and make enough money to cover their rent, cover the gas, and then cover some of their profit, their so-called, kind of daily goal. And so what she learned from this study was that taxi drivers would have a specific number in mind of how much they wanted to make. And once they made that money, they'd be done for the day. So they might say, if they made that money in 3 hours, hey, that's awesome. I got the rest of the day off. This is great. Or if it was a slow day, they would just drive the full 12-hour shift and they still might come up short. And they calculated that they would actually make, it was 15% more money if they drove longer on the days it was hot and they walked away sooner on the days that it was cold. And I think that same logic applies to trading. You'll make more on a day when it's really hot by sticking around a little longer. You'll get more opportunities. Each opportunity you're getting, more juice from the squeeze. You're just getting more volatility, more momentum. It's like there's just more action. But on a day like today when it's this cold, sticking around, what are you going to get? You're not going to get anything for it. There's not enough volume. There's not a lot of volatility. Most likely, you're just going to take unnecessary losses. You're going to get frustrated and you're going to waste your time. So this is a day where I'm going to lead by example and I'm going to walk away. And I'm going to feel a little disappointed if as soon as I walk away, you have a stock that squeezes up like 500%. But even if that happens, it really doesn't matter because this isn't the time of day I would typically do well. Now, Sky, this is an interesting one. This squeezed up over 100%. Goes from $1.40 all the way up to $3.80 right here. Here's why I did not trade it. Okay, so at the open, it squeezes up and it halts at $2 going up. And so it was on our halt scanner. I saw it was up and I said, well, what's the catalyst? I go over here to the stock quote window and I see that there's news demonstrating over 30% weight loss. And I'm like, oh, this is very good. Now, if I lost 30% of my body weight, that would be a real problem. So I'm not actually sure. 30% seems like a fairly large number. Maybe that's the percentage of people that had a response to, I don't know what it is. Anyways, but nonetheless, the news was at 7 a.m. So I thought, well, wait a second. If this news is really so good, why is it moving here at like 9:35 and not when the news came out at 7 a.m.? That's weird. So that threw me off a little bit. And of course it's halted, so I can't trade it. I look at the daily chart and I see the 200 moving average is at $4, upside resistance. So I'm like, no, see, that doesn't work. You've got a problem on the chart with the 200 there, and then it resumed, it halts up, dips and rips, halts up, and then goes up again, right up to that 200, and then just fades off of that level. MACD's crossed over. It's just unwinding. So no trades on Sky. When I first sat down, we had let's see. Oh gosh, what was it now? I'm gonna have to scroll down here for a second. I'll just go on. I'll scroll down the momentum scanner. So we're gonna go way back to earlier today. You see a couple different ones. This was the one, SNYR. So SNYR popped up a little bit after hours and then squeezed up from 350 up to 6 at like 6 to 7 a.m. And then coming into 7, it dropped, popped, dropped, and was unwinding. So I sat down at 7 a.m. So I missed that entire move right there. And I didn't want to chase it. I just felt like, you know what? That was the front side of the move. This is the back side. Now, I saw some people were trading it in this area after 7. And I said, guys, what are you doing? That's the first pullback. That's the second pullback. Now we've broken down. The MACD on the 1 minute's negative. This is choppy. You got a false breakout there, another one here. This isn't something we want to mess around with. It's no good. So, look, yeah, you got a little move before 7 a.m., but not on a lot of volume because most retail traders can't even trade then. So that was our first stock that was on the scans. I was like, nope, okay, not trading that. Now, if it held up going into 7 a.m., maybe I certainly would have considered it, but it wasn't viable. Then MTVA hit the scanner. This one popped up for a second, also had the 200 moving average somewhat close by, had some news, weight loss, but I said, 200 moving average is a little too close. The price is a little too cheap. I'm going to wait. Didn't really pull away. DTIL, this hit the scanner. Kind of just slow. Then Mura hit the scanner, MURA, and I said, nah, it's a little too cheap. It's a cheaper stock. And that's my main issue. And it kept kind of grinding higher, up from 160, 170, 180, 190, and then up to 2, and then dipping down. And at the open, you got a nice breakout. I didn't really see that coming. I looked at it as this is a stock that there's just a tug of war. It's a battle between the buyers and the sellers. It's got 170 million shares of volume or whatever, 130 million shares right now. It's so thickly traded. And what's interesting is that it's easy to borrow. E for easy to borrow. So now you can see my P&L. $221.87. That's not even enough to buy lunch. Well, I suppose it's probably enough to buy lunch. I don't know. But it's not what I was looking for today. So what's the one stock I traded? AREB. All right, so that's the stock I made $12,000 on yesterday. AREB did pop up this morning. You can see it right here. There was a little bit of news, and I just jumped in and jumped out. I really wasn't sure this was going to work. You got a little pop on it here. It pulls back. Another little pop on it there. It pulls back. But I kept share size real small today. I just wasn't feeling it. AREB, I just knew that it was a little overdone. I said it needs to come out with news, but it needs to be good news. And it needs to break over 1240 on the daily. If that can happen, then we're in good shape. So I do think it's worth keeping on watch for, a curl, but it needs news to give it that momentum. So without a good news headline, I just don't think it's going to happen. So then SYNR came back up, or SNYR, whatever. CRVO, this was back on the scanner, 9:30, opening bell. And at this point, I just felt like, all right, I'm going to watch, because some days it'll be really slow pre-market, and then at the open, you get some action. Some days it's hot pre-market, then at the open, it's cold. So I thought, well, let's just give it a chance. Let's see if anything pops up. But we really didn't get anything other than MURA that popped up at the open. And, the overall market, the S&P, that obviously has popped up a good bit today, although just as I say that, I see it's dipping down a little bit. I'm not sure what that. It's a really high volume candle there. What time is it? 10:17. So 10:17, not any, I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll probably find out shortly on the news feed if there's some economic data out. But nonetheless, the market right now, you could probably say, it's sort of a bear flag. We dipped down, we came back up. We're sort of light volume here. I think, people are waiting for the next, the other shoe to drop, so to speak, just the way things are positioned. So that's a little bit of chop. USAR, this is the U.S. Rare Earth Company. I kind of thought that would do a little better, but it's just been a little slower. The float, actually 56 million shares. We got that updated. So higher float, I think that was probably part of the issue why it didn't give us better price action the last couple days. So here's my rule of thumb. I got to follow my 5 pillars of stock selection. And as long as I follow those 5 pillars and I focus on A quality setups, I could do pretty well. Averaging right now $18,000 per day this year, $1,700 winners, $800 losers, 71.2%, 71.6% accuracy. So I'm at 1.2 million on the year right now. I'm not in a drawdown, and on a day like today when there's nothing that really fits closely within my 5 pillars of stock selection, I have no problem just sitting tight and being patient. And then the next stock that I see that does meet all 5, well, I'm going to step up to the plate and I'll be aggressive. So if you don't already know my 5 pillars of stock selection, I'm going to put a link. It'll be pinned to the top of the comments and in the description where you can download the PDF worksheet that walks you through those 5 criteria of stock selection. And for those that have not already watched my top 3 most profitable candlestick chart patterns, I'm going to put a link to that right here. I'll put a link to another full training right there. And as always, I want to remind you guys to please take it slow. Trade is a simulator, especially on days like today, because as you know, trading is risky and my results aren't typical. So with that, I'll see you guys back at it first thing tomorrow morning.